Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science. In this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 20th March 2021. In this lecture, we are going to see 8 articles which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. Title says terror biggest hurdle to Indo-Pakistan relationship. So this article mainly focusing on Indo-Pakistan relations. That is India-Pakistan relations. So if you are talking about relations between India and Pakistan, which is not good. So India and Pakistan, we are sharing our boundary, right? So regarding this, our boundary, there are many challenges like terrorism. We have infiltration. We have problems like drug trafficking and as well as armed trafficking that is happening along this Indo-Pakistan border. So this article is very important regarding mains point of view, which comes under GS paper 2 under international relations. So now let us try to understand this article. So now let us see first context. Here context says Punjab Chief Minister termed Pakistan sponsored terrorism as one of biggest hurdle to normalize relationship between India and Pakistan. So recently, if you see developments of Indo-Pakistan relationship, on both sides, we agreed to come up with 2003 ceasefire agreement. So we are going to follow this 2003 ceasefire agreement between India and Pakistan. But now we are seeing Pakistan state sponsored terrorism. So because of this Pakistan state sponsored terrorism, so it is mainly which is one of biggest hurdle to normalize relationship between India and Pakistan. So if you see here in this context, Chief Minister of Punjab said that India cannot afford to go soft on Pakistan till they walk the talk and prove their sincerity. Till they prove sincerity, we cannot offer this soft to Pakistan. So this is statement given by our Punjab's Chief Minister. So this is context. And now let us see some important details regarding this article. So this article mainly says that infiltration into India from across this border, which is still happening. Recently we came up that we are going to follow this 2003 ceasefire agreement. So from that onwards, we are also seeing there are some infiltration along this Indo-Pakistan border. And Indian soldiers, they were being killed at borders every day. And Pakistan's, they are dropping arms and as well as heroin into Punjab via drones every other day. So what might be reason why Pakistan, which is mainly doing so which country is supporting Pakistan? So if you see on backdrop, Pakistan mainly increasing collusions with China, and this is mainly causing a whole lot of trouble for India on other border. Okay, so in this context, what is need? Need here is Pakistan should send out a clear message to China or Beijing, loud and clear, that Pakistan is not with them in dangerous escapes at LAC. So this is some of important need that we are mainly talking about, that we are mainly focusing on. So this is gist of this article. I hope it is clear now. Now let us see next article. Title says state resolutions on central laws of fine. So this is statement which is given by our CJI, that is Chief Justice of India. So this article mainly focusing on state resolutions regarding central laws, especially this Citizenship Amendment Act and as well as recent farm laws. Okay, so this article will be important regarding polity, which comes under GS paper 2. And this topic is important regarding mains. Now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So this article mainly focusing on state resolutions. So if you see what is the context here. Supreme Court prima facie found that there is no harm in state legislative assemblies. So Supreme Court mainly said that there is no harm whenever state legislative assemblies, they are passing such a resolutions regarding central laws. Okay. For example, states like Kerala and West Bengal, they passed resolutions against some central laws like Citizenship Amendment Act and as well as recent agriculture laws or recent farm laws. So if you see some details which are highlighted in this article, it mainly says that These resolutions, they are merely opinions of majority of people or majority number of this legislative assembly, and they do not have a force of law. They are mere opinions. So this is statement which is given by our CJI. So if you see some background regarding this article, recently a PIL, that is public interest litigation, mainly filed by Rajasthan based NGO. So name of that NGO is Samta Andolan Samiti. So this Samta Andolan Samiti filed PIL in Supreme Court regarding to hear about the state assemblies like Rajasthan, Kerala, Punjab, West Bengal. They do not have any business. There is no business of passing resolution against central laws. So these central laws, they mainly comes under union list of 7th schedule here. So now this PIL asked this Supreme Court that to quash those resolutions which are passed by the state assemblies and to make them null and void. So this is about petition. So because of this, Supreme Court went for hearing of this PIL, and finally Supreme Court said that so these are mere opinions. These are only opinions here. Okay, they do not have the force of law. So why whenever resolutions which are passed by the state legislative assemblies, they do not have force of law? Because these state assemblies, they cannot make laws on subjects in union list. So if you are talking about our constitution, we have schedule 7 of our constitution. So this schedule 7 mainly talks about 3 lists. List 1, list 2 and list 3. So list 1 mainly talks about union list, and list 2 talks about state list, and list 3 talks about concurrent list. So if you are talking about union list, union government or central government will have exclusive power to make laws on subjects which are listed under this union list. And if you are talking about this list 2, that is state government has exclusive powers to make laws on subjects which are present in this list. And under this concurrent list, both central and state government have power. Okay, so because of this, CJ mainly said that whenever central government it is making laws on central subjects, so whenever state governments are passing resolutions, so they do not come into force. There is no force of law. Okay, so this is about gist of this article. And now let us see next article. Title says 6 tigers missing in Ranthambore. Okay, so this article mainly talking about missing of tigers. Regarding this, we are going to see what is context and some important details which are given in this article, and we are also going to see some facts regarding this Ranthambore, and we are also going to see about Project Tiger. Okay, so these are some important things that we are going to discuss in this article. So please be focused, and this article is important regarding environment and ecology, which comes under GS paper 3. And it is also important regarding geography. So regarding geography, you need to look after this Ranthambore National Park. Okay. So now first let us see context. Context mainly says that 6 tigers, 4 are adults and 2 are sub-adults. They have been unaccounted, that is missed, since March 2020 in Ranthambore Tiger Sanctuary, which is located in state of Rajasthan. So state forest officials, they are not willing to label them as missing and denied reports that they are missing here. Okay, so this is context. And if you see some facts regarding this Ranthambore Tiger Reserve, which mainly lies in eastern part of Rajasthan state in Karauli and Savai Madhopur districts. So these districts are a junction of Aravalli with Indian hill ranges. So you have to remember this point for sure. Okay. And if you see parks and sanctuaries which are present in that area, that includes Ranthambore National Park, Savai Man Singh, and as well as Kela Devi Sanctuary. Okay, so these are some important things which are present near that. And if you are talking about vegetation, it includes mainly grasslands of plateaus and as well as some diverse forests are present. Okay, and next one is if you are talking about forest type exclusively, so we can see here mainly tropical dry deciduous forest. Okay, which types of forest that is seen in this area, Ranthambore Tiger Reserve? So we have mainly tropical dry deciduous forest, and one important plant species that is present in that area is dak. So this dark also have capability of withstanding long periods of droughts. So because of this dark, which is mainly called as flame of forest. So you have to remember this fact. You can expect this types of question in other public service examination, that is state public service examinations also. And if you see some facts, this area with tigers in it area mainly represents northwestern limit of Bengal tigers. So in this way we can say this Ranthambore Tiger Reserve, it is one of outstanding example of our Project Tiger. So under this Project Tiger, we are mainly doing some efforts to conserve these tigers in our country. So these are some important facts that you should remember. And now let us see about Project Tiger. So this Project Tiger, it is one of favorite topics of UPSC. So you can expect even mains and also prelims questions regarding this Project Tiger. So if you see this Project Tiger, it mainly launched in year 1973 with a tiger reserves for conserving our national animal. Currently under Project Tiger, we have increased from 9 tiger reserves to 50 tiger reserves, and these are mainly spread over 18 tiger range states. And if you are talking about this tiger reserves, they constitute 2 areas, core area and buffer strategy. So if you are taking any tiger reserve, so in middle we have core area and outside we have some buffer strategy. So if you are talking about this core area, okay, so in this core area we mainly see some legal status of national park or sanctuary that is given to this core area. So if you are talking about this buffer area around this core, it is mainly mix of forest and as well as non-forest land and managed as a multiple use area. So these are some important facts regarding this tiger reserves. Okay, and if you are talking about this Project Tiger, it is a centrally sponsored scheme which mainly implemented by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So this is one of important prelims question. And now let us also talk about this National Tiger Conservation Authority. So this National Tiger Conservation Authority, it is a statutory body. So it got statutory status in year 2006. So you have to remember this for sure. So if you are talking about functions or role, it is mainly act as supervising, coordination role and as well as performing functions which are mainly provided in Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So this NTCA, that is National Tiger Conservation Authority, launched in year 2005 on recommendations of Tiger Task Force, and it got statutory status by 2006 under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Okay, and now let us see map of this Ranthambore. So where it is located? As we know, this is located at this Rajasthan, right? So if we have seen Aravalli range here, to east of this we have this Ranthambore, and this Ranthambore mainly located at joining point of Vindhyan and as well as Aravalli ranges. So easternmost we can see this Ranthambore. Okay, if you see other national parks here, we can see Desert National Park here. Okay, this Desert National Park, it is mainly famous for conservation of Great Indian Bustard. And next one is here we have Bharatpur National Park, it is also called as Koladeo Ghana National Park. Okay, so these are some important things that you should remember here. And now let us see next article. Title says COVID may have doubled poverty in India. So this article mainly talking about one report. So this report mainly talked about poverty in India because of this COVID-19 recession. So this article can be used whenever you are writing mains answer. Okay. So in mains answer, if you want to write data, so you can say this name of this report and you can say as per this report, some highlights of this report include so and so members of people, they downtrodden into poverty. So in this way, data of this report that we are going to discuss now, that can be used whenever you are writing answers. Okay, mains answer. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So this article mainly focusing on COVID-19 and poverty. So if you see context, analysis of Pew Research Center. So according to this center, it came up with a recent report. So this report mainly says that India's middle class may shrunk by a third due to 2020's pandemic driven recession. So this report mainly says that middle class in India, they are downtrodden or they shrinked here because of COVID-19 driven recession. And this report also says that poor people who are earning less than rupees 150 per day, their number has been doubled now. Okay, and if you are comparing with China, Chinese incomes remained relatively unshaken. Okay, so we saw just a 2% drop in middle class population, and this drop, when you are comparing with India, India has a lot of number of people. And if you see some details regarding this report, it mainly says that this report uses World Bank projection of economic growth to estimate impact of COVID-19 on Indian incomes. So it mainly used World Bank projection of economic growth to study. And because of this lockdown, which is triggered by this pandemic, that led to shutdown of business, that led to loss of jobs, and also falling of incomes. That finally led to plunging of Indian economy into deep recession now. So we saw recession, that means continuously in Q1 and Q2, we saw contraction of our economy. So because of this contraction, that is in successive Q1 and Q2, so this condition is called as recession. Okay, and now let us see some more highlights regarding this topic. So first one is middle class in India estimated to have shrunk by 3.2 crore in 2020. Okay, so there is shrunk that is seen in Indian middle class is about 3.2 crore. That means from 10 crore to now we can see middle class of 6.6 crore. And next one is there is also increase from almost 6 crore to 13.5 crore poor people. So because of shrinking of middle class, what happened? Poor people number has been risen. That is from 6 crore to 13.4 crore people now. And next one is number of poor people in India with incomes less than $2 or even less per day, estimated to have increased by 7.5 crores because of this COVID-19 recession. So because of this 7.5 crore people, they accounts for nearly 60% of global increase in poverty. Okay, and this report also talked about rich population. So rich population who earn more than rupees 1500 per day also fell almost 30%. So these are some important highlights of this report. You can use this data whenever you are writing essay, and also you can use this in answers of GS2 and GS3. This is the gist of this article, and now let us see next article. Title says Advanced Nations Failing World on Climate Change. So this article, it is mainly talking about climate financing. So this is one of important topic under GS paper 3 under environment and ecology. So this topic is exclusively important regarding mains. Now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So if you see this article mainly talking about climate change, mainly to meet this climate change, developed countries, they accepted to provide some financial assistance, that is called as climate financing. So now let us try to understand context. Here our finance minister announced that advanced countries are failing to keep their financing contributions or financing commitments to help emerging economies to cope with climate change. So we need to understand here why developed countries, they need to provide some finance commitment to emerging countries. So these developed countries already came up with industrial revolution way back, right? So in 19th century itself, they come up with this industrial revolution. So because of whenever these countries, they came up with industrial revolution, they released a lot of emissions into atmosphere, right? So because of this large amount of emissions that are released into atmosphere, now these developing countries and as well as these developing countries, they are facing problems. So mainly to mitigate those problems of climate change, now developed countries, they need to provide some finance commitment and also transfer of technology to deal with those climate change problems in developing and as well as least developed countries. So this is about context. So our finance minister mainly admonished these advanced countries of failing to keep their finance commitment in one conference, that is International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So in this context, our finance minister also said that Because of these advanced countries, whenever they are failing to keep on their financial commitments, now we are seeing impact in emerging countries and as well as least developed countries. If you're talking about especially India, we faced disaster, right, recently in Uttarakhand. So because of this failing of commitments and because of climate change, we are saying there is a glacial retreat. So because of this glacial retreat, that led to landslide or glacial lake outburst flood. So this is recently seen in Uttarakhand. Now let us try to understand some details regarding this article. Government was committed to building infrastructure that would revive our economy. In the same context, our government is also focusing on resilient to risk of climate change. And in this context, our Indian government looking for innovative systems that can certify the resilience of infrastructure. So these are some important statements which are made by our finance minister in this conference. Our finance minister said that yes, we are going towards development projects here. So whenever we are going for this development projects or infrastructure, that will revive our economy. And not only it will helpful for revival of our economy, but we are also focusing on climate resilient infrastructure. And in this context, our finance minister said that advanced economies, they had failed to fulfill their quantitative commitment to provide $100 billion per year to help smaller countries. So this is a commitment that is made in Paris Agreement or Paris Climate Deal. So now let us try to understand some facts regarding what is this climate finance. So what is this climate finance? So this climate finance mainly refers to local, national or transnational financing, and they are drawn from public, private and alternative source of financing. Okay, so this climate finance, it mainly seeks to support and as well as to mitigate and to adapt action and those actions that will address climate change. And next one is UNFCCC, Kyoto Protocol and as well as Paris Climate Deal. They mainly call for financial assistance from countries with more financial resources. Okay, and we also came up with common but differential responsibility respect to capabilities. That means these developed countries, they need to go for financial commitments to less developed or developing countries, and also it deals with technological transfers. Okay, this is done under this Paris Agreement of 2015. So under this Paris Agreement, developed countries mainly agreed to provide financial commitment of $100 billion per year, mainly to emerging countries. Okay, so this is just. And now let us see next article. Before seeing this article, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. We came up with current affairs package plus mains answer writing practice. If you ask me what is importance of this course, why to join this course? We are exclusively focusing on current affairs. So if you ask me what is importance of current affairs, about 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims or mains or even interview. So you can expect questions from this current affairs. If you are getting any static based questions, they are also maximum related to this current affairs. So mastering of current affairs is very important to clear UPSC. And if you are talking about this mains answer writing practice, many students who are freshers or beginners, they will ignore this answer writing practice. Finally, they end up with failing in mains. So whenever you are focusing on this mains answer writing practice, gradually you can improve your answer writing skills. So what is answer writing skills? So you need to answer to demand of question. So there are some key words in question like discuss, critically evaluate, critically analyze, elaborate. So to that words, you have to write your answer accordingly, and you have to complete your answer within word limit. Okay, so to develop that answer writing skills, you need to focus on mains answer writing practice. So if you join this course, we daily provide you one mains question, and on Sunday we will provide you essay. You are supposed to write those answers and essay, and if you send us in a PDF format to our mail, so we will be evaluating and providing you feedback. And we also provide you one best answer or one best essay. So in this way, it will be helpful to improve your answer writing skills. And if you join this course, we also provide you prelims practice questions along with video solutions. So this course, it is finally focusing on exactly demand of UPSC. So one thing I want to say, please don't take this course as a choice. Please try to join this course as soon as possible and enjoy process of learning, and as well as finally you can achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. Details regarding this course are given in description box, so please visit that once without any fail. And now let us see next article. Title says Chasing Peace. So this article mainly talking about Afghan peace process. And this article is very important regarding GS paper 2 under international relations. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So if you see context, why this Afghan peace deal is in again news. So recently peace conference hosted by Russia in Moscow. So this peace conference, it is between Afghanistan government and Taliban. So if you're talking about this Afghan peace deal, so there are many stakeholders which are included in Afghanistan. So they include Afghanistan government, and we have Taliban, we have USA on one side, we have Pakistan which is providing training to Taliban, and we have India, and we have China is also opened backdoor entry to this Afghanistan, and also Russia. So these are many stakeholders which are mainly involved in this Afghan peace deal. So now Russia mainly hosted this peace conference between Afghanistan and Taliban. So because of involvement of Russia in this, we can say it is one of latest example of growing international concern about future of Afghanistan here. So why we need to talk about Afghan peace deal? So there is a deadline, that is May 1st. So by this May 1st, here US troops, they need to be withdrawn according to peace deal between US government, right? So because of this, now there is no big breakthrough was expected from a single day conference between parties, because these parties like Afghanistan government and Taliban, they are fighting more than 20 years. So in this context, Russia mainly planning to bring together Afghan government and as well as Taliban and to conduct peace talks, and whatever the peace talks that are stalled from last months here, it is mainly jumping to full start these peace process between Afghanistan government and Taliban. So this is plan of Russia. So if you're talking about US here, US mainly called for United Nations led multilateral peace conference. Okay, mainly to resolve this Afghanistan conflict, it is mainly going for this multi-facet one. So now there are different actors like Afghanistan government, Taliban, US, Russia, China, Pakistan and India, they are to be included in this peace talks. Okay, now US, it is mainly reviewing administration of this Afghan strategy, and now after reviewing this, USA mainly found out that it is very tough to withdraw all its troops by May 1st deadline. So this is mainly agreed by USA in accord with Taliban. So Taliban is also threatening US that if they are not going to remove all those troops within this target deadline, it will go for offensive attacks on US. So because of this reason, now Biden new administration of US is in dilemma. So if he want to pull back out of this Afghanistan without any peace agreement, then civil war that could intensify in Afghanistan. So this is one cause of concern. And next one is Taliban already in control, already had control over much of this rural Afghanistan. So it could make rapid gains whenever US, which is withdrawing without any peace agreement with Taliban. So in this way, if he decide to keep troops even for short term or short time, that could trigger a tough response from Taliban. So this is again third concern of USA. So because of this, now USA administration, which is mainly trying to put together new peace process. So this new peace process includes other regional actors, like for example Russia is there, China, India and Pakistan. Finally, we need to get with a lasting settlement regarding this Afghan peace process. So in this way, US already wants Afghanistan government to share power with Taliban. But if you are talking about Russia, Russia has asked this Afghanistan government to Taliban to make some necessary compromises here. But after this Moscow meet, Russia, China, US and Pakistan, they are mainly talking about new peace deal that need to become here. And this peace agreement that should include protection of rights of all Afghan civilians. So protection of rights of all Afghan civilians, it should be priority under this coming talks. So this is about gist of this article. I hope it is clear now. Now let us see next article. Title says Delhi undermined. So this article mainly talking about GNCDT Act. So regarding this act, whatever it is required, so in all dimensions we are going to deal in this lecture. So after watching this video, you will not have any confusion regarding this, what is this GNCDT Act. So this article is exclusively important regarding polity, which comes under GS paper 2. Okay, and this topic is important regarding mains and also prelims. So regarding prelims, you need to know some facts regarding this, what is this act, and regarding mains, you need to know about analysis of this part. So this GNCDT Act mainly talks about Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act of 1991. So first we are going to see what are details of this act. Okay, so first one is, this act mainly talks about Delhi's current status. So if you're talking about this Delhi's current status, it is a union territory, right? So it is a union territory with legislative assembly. So this union territory with legislative assembly, so it is mainly outcome of 69th Constitutional Amendment Act, right? So through this 69th Constitutional Amendment Act, we came up with two important articles. Article 239 capital A, Article 239 BB. So these two articles added. So these two articles mainly deals with union territory with legislative assembly. So if you are talking about this act, which also passed simultaneously to supplement constitutional provisions which are mainly regarding assembly and council of ministers in this national capital. So it also came up with assembly and also council of ministers in national capital. And next one is, this act also outlines powers of assembly, discretionary powers of lieutenant governor, and duties of CM with respect to need to furnish information to lieutenant governor. So these are some important things which are mainly said in this act. Okay, so first one is, it talks about powers of assembly. It also talks about discretionary powers and as well as duties of chief minister with respect to lieutenant governor, regarding which information to be furnished to lieutenant governor. So if you see present context, why it is in news. Recently, central government introduced amendment bill of 2021 to this act. Okay, so this bill mainly need to amend this Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act of 1991. So what is aim of this bill? Aim here, it is to further define responsibilities of elected government and as well as lieutenant governor in Delhi. Mainly to define responsibility, what is rule, what is functions, what are rules of this elected government and what are responsibilities, functions of this lieutenant governor, they to be defined. So this is one important aim of this new amendment bill of 2021. Now if you see provisions of this bill too, you have to remember four important provisions. So first one is, it mainly says that government of Delhi to mean lieutenant governor. Okay, so expression of government which is referred to any law to be made by legislative assembly, so that shall mean lieutenant governor. That means lieutenant governor given more powers than compared to that of this elected government in Delhi. And second important provision here is widening of discretionary powers of lieutenant governor. Okay, so discretionary powers of lieutenant governor will be increased under this bill. And next one is necessity granted on opportunities to lieutenant governor. That means it mainly ensures necessary granted an opportunity to give his or her opinion before any decision taken by council of ministers. So we have elected government, right? So we have council of ministers. Okay, so this council of ministers, whenever they are taking any decision, okay, whenever they are taking any decision that regarding that decision, lieutenant governor, they need to give opinion regarding that decision which is taken by council of ministers. That means this council of ministers will be overridden by this lieutenant governor. And next one is related to administration decisions. That means legislative assembly shall not make any rule to enable itself to consider matters to day-to-day administration. So in this way, power of legislative assembly will be decreased. So these are four important provisions under this new bill. And if you see background, why we need to talk about this. Recently in 2018, Supreme Court came up with verdict. So it is a 5-judge bench. So in this 5-judge bench verdict, Supreme Court said that lieutenant governor concurrence is not required on issue other than police, public order and land. So other than this police, public order and land, so there is no need of concurrence with Lieutenant Governor. So that decision that can be taken by Council of Ministers. Okay. And next one is decisions of Council of Ministers. They will however have to be communicated to Lieutenant Governor. Okay. So whatever decision which is taken, that can be communicated. So it is not mandatory. And next one is this Lieutenant Governor was bound by aid and advice of Council of Ministers. And Supreme Court also said that Lieutenant Governor informed of all administrative developments, but not necessary before implementing that. But this bill says that before implementing only opinion of Lieutenant Governor should be taken. So in this way, what will be impact? So whenever this bill passed and made it as an act, so it mainly undermines court efforts to strengthen the elected government regarding this Delhi. And first one is Lieutenant Governor has not entrusted with any independent decision making power earlier. So this act will provide that thing. And next one is here Lieutenant Governor, he need to act on aid and advice of Council of Ministers. But if there is any difference between elected government and Lieutenant Governor, so regarding that differences, they should refer question to President. Okay, so these are the some important things which are said in our earlier thing, but these are some changes that can be happen whenever this bill that will be converted into act. Okay, so these are some important points here. And now let us see next article. Title says a booster shot for India's vaccination plan. So this article mainly focusing on COVID-19 vaccination. So because now we are seeing there is increasing of cases and as well as increasing of death rates of this COVID-19 that is seen in recent days. So because of this, we need to fast up our COVID-19 vaccination. So we need to give vaccination to vulnerable people mainly to decrease risk of deaths. So mainly to achieve that target, what can be done? So that is discussed in this article. And now let us try to understand each and every point here. So this article mainly talking about India's vaccination plan. So what is context? Here context is more than 1/3 of all vaccinations which are done in world each day. So about 1/3 they are done in India. So in India we have more than 40 sites of vaccination. So that is mainly shaping our COVID-19 vaccination program into a good thing. And India so far has vaccinated only 3.2% of adult population and it covered only just 2.6 million doses per day. So if you are talking about why we are talking about this COVID-19 vaccinations now, because there is increase in COVID-19 cases and there is also increase in deaths of this COVID-19 in India. So because of this, we need to go for increased vaccination. Okay. So we need to go for at least vaccination of 300 million vulnerable population mainly to decrease risk of death. Okay. So mainly to achieve this vaccination of 300 million vulnerable people, we need to go for vaccination of 10 million people per day. Okay. That could be done within next 2 to 3 months. Whenever we are going for vaccination of 10 million people per day, we can go for these vulnerable that can be saved from this COVID-19 within 2 to 3 months. So in this way, we need to require speeding up of vaccination pace to 5 times as we are doing now. So India has about 3 lakh trained vaccinators. So because of this, we can cover about 3 million people each day. Okay. And we can cover about 2 million doses per day. So we need to expand participation from these private health facilities when we want to achieve 10 million people to be vaccinated per day. Okay. And next one is when we want to go for vaccines, we have only 2 million doses per day. So we need to go for taking of other international vaccines which are present across country. So we need to go for stockpiling of vaccines. We need to go for production lines of our vaccine. And there are several other vaccines are also available internationally in our country. For example, Russian vaccine, that is Sputnik 5, which is under clinical trials in country in our India. So we can go for using of that because we have some safety and as well as efficacy data regarding this international vaccines. They are also got some emergency use authorization. So we need to go for balanced compassion here. Okay. And if you see, we are also sending our vaccines to other countries, right? So mainly if we want to save our country's citizens here, we need to go for balanced compassion of supply of vaccines to other countries, mainly to save our millions of Indians who are at risk, okay. And we need to go for regulation of sales in private market. We need to go for acceleration of vaccination campaign in India, and government should act as assure of quality, and as well as government need to regulate prices of vaccines in country, and government should go for fixed price throughout country. And next one is we need to go for priority. Priority should be given to poor and marginalized people, such that we can include this vaccination of poor and marginalized in our social responsibility also. So we can come up with many public health programs. So these public health programs that need to be very simple, and that need to ensure scalability. That means large amount of people, they need to be enrolled. And next one is we have this COVID app. So many people, they are not coming forward to come up with this registration under this COVID map. So because of this, we can go for first paper based collection, and after that data can be uploaded or updated in this COVID map. So whenever we are going for this details which are updated in this COVID map, we can know people who are suffering with this comorbidities, and those people can be prioritized first. And next one is people who are suffering with this comorbidities, more than 50% of population, they don't know about, they are suffering from other comorbidities like heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, etc. So in this context, we need to take this as opportunity, and we can go for opportunistic screening of blood sugar levels, blood BP levels, blood pressure levels, blood sugar levels, etc. And we can also go for micro planning. So in this micro planning, it mainly includes connecting of house with their migrant people, and as well as different institutes which are present across country, like we can say old age homes and as well as dementia care centers, okay. And we can prioritize COVID-19 vaccination who are vulnerable. And next one is we can also go for mobilizing of ASHA workers in rural areas, and as well as other volunteers, mainly to provide vaccination to people. So these are some important steps that can be taken to achieve our vaccination of 10 million doses per day. Okay, so this is gist of this article. And now let us see today's mains question. It is mainly based on Afghanistan. So the dichotomy of Afghanistan is that its path to peace process is marred with violence and instability. Examine. So answer should not be more than 250 words. Try to write your answer within word limit. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.